Hi there, you are listening to Back in Time, the MES Candler County podcast. In this podcast, we are talking to longtime residents to learn about our community. In this podcast, the past and the present collide. Today, you will be interviewing with Jace, Janice, Avia, Riley, Jamari, and Isabella. Now we are going to learn about the changes in our community from today's guests, Mr. Joe and Miss Jenny Deloach. Welcome and thank you for being here today. Can you tell us how long y'all have lived in Candler County?
We've both lived here all our lives, always lived in Candler County. So that's 79 years for me and 80
Be
for
80
him.
this month for me, 80 years.
That's cool. What's your birthday?
April the 27th.
Mine's April 30th.
Oh, well, we're not too far away.
Wasn't that open to the whole church or something?
Yeah.
Yes,
Down
we're
there.
having a birthday
Yeah.
party.
Yeah, we having a birthday party over at Dutch Ford Farms.
Oh, this one. How long have y'all two been married?
Jenny keeps up better than I do.
Let's see. September will be 58 years.
50
So,
years.
right now, yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Mhm.
That's cool.
What was your childhood like, and how do you think it is different from how kids live today?
How's our childhood what now?
What was your childhood like, and how do you think it is different from how kids live today?
Well, back in the day, we were brought up on a farm. And we didn't have all of these activities back then. We had to work on the farm. All these things with the balls and practice and everything they have going on now, they didn't have all back then. In other words, it was, when you got home from school, you went to work as far as that goes. So that's a lot of differences because y'all have a lot of activities now.
As a kid?
Like sports
Yes,
and
that's-
TV and video games and
No,
Oh,
no.
no such
we-
thing as video.
No,
No, I mean
no
like-
such thing as video games.
That's
No such thing as cell phones.
no cell phones.
Huh?
Did y'all have like house phones connected to the wall?
We had house phones later on in, I don't know when we.
We didn't always have a phone, and when I was, I don't know, maybe 6th, 7th grade or something like that, we got a phone, and it was a party line. So you had like 5 families on the same
On the
line.
same.
You could pick up and hear them talking, and you had to wait for them to get through talking before you could make a call. And so sometimes they're wanting you to get off, and they would click, 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 and try to get you off the phone. But you could hear what they were saying, and they could hear what you were saying.
That's kind of creepy. Like they could just listen to you.
They could, yeah, yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
How were the prices of things different than they were when you were a kid?
Oh, we could buy things like a Coke, we could buy it
For a nickel.
for a nickel.
A nickel?
A
5
nickel.
cents.
Yeah, 5 cents,
No,
yes.
now for like a cool is like probably like $2 or something.
Mhm.
$2.99 anymore.
But you could buy a little bottle of Coke for 5 cents. Yeah.
The nickel is about the same size as the cap of one.
That's right. It
Mhm.
is. It is.
What were your favorite things to do as a kid?
Well, we didn't have all the toys that you have. We had to use our imaginations, and we had to just kind of invent whatever we played with. And one thing we would do, we would have what we call playhouses, and we'd take things like jar lids and make little mud pies and have a little. We'd string it off around the trees and have rooms in the house and play like that. And then I had brothers. And we grew up playing cowboys and Indians, and that was my favorite thing to do. And we just played in the woods a lot, and we broke off dog fennels, and I know you don't know what that means, but that was our horse. And we'd ride the horses, and we'd tie them up, and we used persimmon leaves for money, and that's all we knew was because we could go to the movies, and so we saw cowboy pictures, so we played cowboys and Indians, and just did different things to entertain ourselves.
So you guys used your imagination?
Used our imagination, yeah, we had to think up things to do. Yeah.
I like playing in the woods, but I can't because I get poisoned. And my brother had his 16-year-old pictures a few days ago, and I was in the woods because he was taking his pictures in the woods, and I got poisoned like right now.
Oh, yeah, you have to be careful about that poison ivy.
And one time I had it all over my face, and I was scared to go places.
Yeah.
But it was during Christmas break, so it was fine.
Did y'all like go fishing or hunting?
I didn't, but my daddy did. My daddy was an avid fisherman. He fished every chance he got. And I grew up, that was the main thing we ate at my house was fish. We were very poor. And we ate fish every week or several times a week. He fished every Saturday and every afternoon when he'd get off from work if he could. But we ate a lot of fish. I grew up on fish.
Fish tastes really good.
Yeah.
I like them.
I'm surprised that I still like them, as many as I had to eat when I was growing up. That was mostly what I ate.
It was kind of like eating like ground beef anymore.
Yeah, like y'all would eat ground beef. It was fish for us, fish.
That's cool.
And your dad would eat sometime for breakfast.
Well, if he had
Fish.
one left over, he'd eat it for breakfast.
He'd eat it for breakfast.
I'll take fish for breakfast when I get it from Texas Roadhouse and stuff.
Yeah,
I'll bring back the leftovers and I'll eat it for breakfast because
Yeah.
it tastes so good.
yeah.
But do you miss most about how things were when you were a kid?
Well, I think we grew up in the best of times because we felt safe. We didn't even have locks on our doors. We trusted everybody. We trusted all our neighbors. Nobody was out there to try to harm us in any way. And
We leave our windows open.
yeah,
Yeah,
slept with
we
our
leave the
windows open.
and everything.
And we didn't even have a lock on our doors.
We didn't either to start with.
Mm. So we felt very free to walk around. I would walk about a mile over to the little country store. We walked everywhere we went because we did have a car, but my dad would have the car, so we didn't have a car at home during the day. So I would have to walk to the neighbor's house and over to the little country store, but we just felt free to do that. And I probably wouldn't even let my grandchildren do that today for fear of someone coming by and picking them up. But
Like Liam?
yeah, like Liam. I wouldn't let him walk by himself where I did.
What were your favorite holiday traditions and were any than they are today?
Holiday traditions.
Yeah, Christmas was a big holiday tradition for us. Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
we get together as a family and all at that
Yeah.
time.
But I'll tell you one thing about Christmas. Like I said, came from a very poor family. Joe's dad was a great farmer. They had a little bit more than we did. But at Christmas was the only time we had fruit, like oranges or bananas, and that would be what we would get in our stocking, oranges, apples, or bananas. That was the only time of year we had fruit. It was because it was seasonal, but you didn't have fruit during the summer, or like you can go to the store and buy fruit today, anything you want, that wasn't there.
Didn't you put your like shoes out or something in front of the door and then put like fruit in it or something?
I didn't ever do that, but I think in some countries they did that. But we did have a little stocking, but our stocking was filled with fruit and nuts. And that would be the only time we had fruit. And so it was a big deal.
That's interesting.
My favorite holiday is Christmas because it's Jesus' birthday.
Yeah,
Amen,
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
most important thing about it.
yeah, it is.
What was your house like when you were growing up, and how have houses changed?
Well, at my house, we did not have running water.
You had to get out of the stream or something?
We had a pump outside. We had to go outside and pump a bucket of water and bring it in to cook with or wash our hands or whatever. And we had no inside plumbing until I was about in the 6th grade. We had no bathroom, no running water. We pumped our own water. We had what we call an outhouse, and I don't know if you know what that is, but we had to go outside to use the bathroom.
I've seen that. Like,
Yeah.
it's a porta potty that can't.
Yeah, like a porta potty, but it was permanent at our house.
Yeah, we had a bathroom and running water when I was coming up.
Yeah.
We was
See, I told you he was a little bit better off than I was.
we was in a two-story house. It's now called Dutch Ford Farms out in our area, but you have a lot of weddings there now. But that's the same way, but we didn't have a bathroom upstairs. So we had to come down anytime we had to go, and that's where we slept, was upstairs. So we had to come down to go to the bathroom and everything, so. But we had water, but like I say, we had a tub, we didn't have showers or nothing like that, you know. We had one bathroom, and it would, there was just two brothers I had, and we had to all rotate and when we took bath and everything. So, in other words, we was fortunate that way that we didn't have to wash in a wash tub, because I think
Yeah,
that's what
'cause
Jenny and them done.
I don't know if you know what a wash tub is, but just a tub, that's what we would take a bath in, put water in the tub. And our house was heated with a wood burning stove, kinda out in the middle of the room. And that was the only heat we had, and so you'd put your tub up kinda close to that heater and you'd take a bath in that water. And, that was the only heat we had. And sometimes we burned coal in the heater, but mostly wood. And we would have to go out in the woods and gather up the wood, my mother and a brother or two, and, we would borrow my granddaddy's mule and wagon and go to the woods and pick up little pieces of wood that we could burn in the stove. We didn't have a chainsaw to cut it. We just pick up what we could use in that wagon and bring it back to the house. So we had a wood burning stove.
What was your career when you grew up, and what was it like?
Career? Well, I was a school teacher. And there was no way my parents could afford to send me to school, but I was very fortunate in that a teacher friend of mine suggested that I try out for the Georgia Teacher Scholarship. And so I got a scholarship, which all of my schooling was paid for. And I went to Georgia Southern, and I was obligated then to teach for 4 years. I didn't have to pay it back, but I was obligated to teach for 4 years, and so I ended up teaching 30 years. So back then, most girls my age would go off to a big city like Atlanta or Macon, and they became secretaries, and so I always thought, well, that's what I would do. That was what I thought I'd do. But this idea was put in my head, and so I pursued that, and God just took care of me in that way, because there's no way that we could have afforded for me to go to college. But I got that scholarship.
And I was fortunate to go to college in Tifton, Georgia, a 2-year college. It's ABAC, Abraham Baldwin College in Tifton, Georgia. I went there 2 years, and then I transferred to the University of Georgia and finished my 4-year degree at University of Georgia. And then when I got out of that, I joined the Army National Guard. And I was in the Army National Guard for 6 years. And during the weekend when you had the monthly meetings you go to, the guards and everything, I started working with what they call Hoopie Production Credit Association. It's a lending institution that lended money to farmers where they could farm and everything. And I worked with that for 10 or 12 years, pretty well so. And then my father asked me to come and help on our old home place, our farm. So I managed a hog farm for a couple of years. And then after a couple of years with that, I went and opened up an office here in Metter. It's called Metter Insurance Agency. It's on Northeast Broad Street. I opened up a property and casualty insurance office, and that's what I've done the rest of my life. Now, back in 2013, I sold the property and casualty business, but I still have my building, and I work with people on seniors with Medicare, things of this sort. So, and I'm kind of semi-retired with it all right now. So, yeah, the Lord bless me. He really did.
How has our town changed over the years?
How much it was?
How has our town changed over the years? Well, Joe remembers a lot more about that than I do, but of course the stores have changed and the park, they've just redone the park and there were, all those stores were open during, when we were growing up, and there used to be,
Like Ace and.
yeah, well, yeah. But, you know, now we have some empty buildings down there, but there was always little stores there. And one thing we had was we called it a dime store. It was a five and dime, but it was a dime store. You could go in there and buy just about anything for a nickel or a dime or most any little things. Hair products, they had candy, any little things you needed, you could go to the
That's
dime
cool.
store.
That'll be fun.
And had a theater at Metter.
Yeah, we had a theater. Movie theater.
A movie theater.
And you
Yeah.
could go, I don't remember exactly, but
I think it's 25
I
cents.
think it was a quarter. You
Or
could
to
go.
to the,
It costs like $50 to get to the movie. So now,
yeah,
You
we
could
pay
pay
a
a
quarter.
quarter and you could stay in there all
You
afternoon.
can stay in there all afternoon.
And
so
see-
watch like unlimited movies.
Yeah, and it was all cowboy movies, and
All
that's why I grew up
cowboy.
liking cowboys, I guess. But
Cool.
Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and Dale Evans and all of that, and you could stay in there all afternoon.
And
that was
it's morely on a Saturday when we
Saturday.
came.
That's
So now
when
that
we-
was a big day in this town. Everybody came to Metter on Saturdays.
because people worked out on the
Worked
farm.
in-
That was the only day you came to town was on Saturday.
Mhm. And our parents would drop us off, to watch that, at the theater there, and when they got through, we'd done seen it several times at, movies, and they'd come pick us up, and we'd go back to
Get back
Excelsior.
home.
Are there any traditions our town used to have or you had as a kid that have disappeared over time?
Traditions
Tradition.
that our county had, or what did you say?
Say what our family had.
Are any traditions our town used to have?
Town used to have.
That like disappeared over time.
I'm trying to think.
Well, I don't know. At school, they always had what they call the maypole dance, the 1st of May. They had streamers down from the flagpole, and you did a little dance, and you'd weave in and out with those streamers. That was the maypole dance.
And that was in front of where the old historic society is now. That's where I went with first grade in there.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that first and second grade, I think, was in that building. And, when we had people, we worked on the farm together, but we had somebody was old enough to take a car and bring us to town here to Metter. And, Jenny went to Pulaski.
I went to first five grades in Pulaski, where the nursing home is
Oh
now.
yeah, I've seen that. It was school and then it turned into the
Nursing
Yeah.
home, yeah. Well, I went to school there, first 5 grades. And I know we're kind of getting off of the subject of what you asked, but I did want to say something about Pulaski School. The train came right by, the train tracks are still there, right by the
I've
playground.
seen
And when we would be outside sometimes, the conductor would come, they would come by and they'd throw out a box of candy. And we'd all be out there waving, and it was called moo cows. It was a little piece of caramel candy. And they don't make it today. I look everywhere I go for that good, it was a soft caramel. Can't find anything exactly like it. But he would throw out that box of candy and we'd all wave at the conductor when he'd come by. So that was kind of neat.
That's cool.
And in those school rooms were heated with a coal heater, or pot-bellied stove, and the boys would have to go out. There was a coal pile, coal. We burned coal in it. The boys would have to go out and take the coal bucket out. They loved to do that because they'd go out there and goof off a lot of times and waste time. But they'd bring the coal in, and the room was heated with a coal heater.
The train goes right behind my house.
Yeah, well,
and
it's that
I've
seen
seen-
train track that comes through
I've
Pulaski.
like seen it, but I haven't seen it recently.
They don't do it anymore. That train doesn't come anymore.
I saw it like the first few days we moved in.
Uh-huh.
It would go by
Yeah,
and it would be like making a lot of noise.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
What advice would you give a kids today?
Get off your phone and talk to people.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
good advice.
Put your phone in your pocket and leave it there and talk to people.
And go to church and put Jesus first in your life. Very, very important.
Very
Put him first in your life and you will be successful.
And you will
Let
be
him
the
guide you.
I actually go to church.
I go to church Catholic.
That's wonderful, wonderful.
I'm Baptist.
Yeah, you go to our church.
I believe in God. I'm not ever gonna do drugs, alcohol, smoke, vape, never.
That's-
It just harms your body.
That's
It does.
wonderful. That is a wonderful commitment. I hope you stick to it. I hope all of you do. You know, that's the best thing you can do.
Can you think of any historical events that affected our community?
Historical events.
Mhm.
Well,
You know, a lot of our boys, when we had the Vietnam War,
yes.
we lost several of our.
We lost a good friend during the Vietnam
I
War.
lost one of my cousins from Bullock County, Statesboro. His name was David Deloach, and he got killed over in Vietnam. So we had a lot of people that came back was injured, and we had a lot of them that had really mental problems and things of this sort. So it was a bad situation for all of our counties right here during the Vietnam War.
Before the internet and cell phones, how did you know the events were happening?
What now? Oh,
Before
before.
the internet and cell phones, how did you know the events were happening?
Well, about the only news we had was the newspaper. We had a newspaper. And so that was kind of after the fact, but it was
And we
always,
had radio.
yeah, we did have
We
radio.
had radio. We never listened to it much, but we had radio. And then everybody got addicted to the TV when it came along, so, it made a big change to TV did.
But we had nice family programs. When the TV came out, it was nice family programs, and most of them taught, a lot of them taught a moral value. It was family oriented, and today we don't watch regular TV. We watch the news, but we don't watch anything on TV because it's just so bad, I think.
Do you still watch Cowboy?
Oh yeah, I love Cowboys. I still do.
Well, see, now, when we was growing up too, I don't know if there's a show that we just fell in love with, it's Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched that. I love that show.
Well, we was very involved with it, and we still watch it today. But when we was growing up, we had a chance to go to Mount Airy, North Carolina. That's where all the cast that played in the Andy Griffith Show was up there. And we met with them and enjoyed it.
Wait, so you've talked to the Andy Griffin guy?
We
He
talked-
never did go, but
Andy Griffith never did go, but Don Knotts,
we did get to meet Barney and
and
Thelma Lou.
Thelma Lou, that's where she lived, and she passed away up there not too long ago. Thelma Lou, that was Barney's girlfriend, you know. Act like you don't know who that was.
She probably didn't know.
But anyway, and then there was what was the other part?
Ernest T. Bass. we
Ernest
met
T.
him in
Bass,
that
yeah,
show.
all of those. You saw all of those was in that. So you watched the Andy Griffith Show occasionally. Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, it was good, clean family fun, and that's the kind of shows we had growing up. Wagon Train, things of this
Did
sort.
y'all have like cartoons like Popeye or?
Not that many,
No,
not that many.
not that
When you went to the movie, like we were talking about going on Saturday, there would be one cartoon. That was the big deal too, to see that. It was usually Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck or something like that. They'd have one cartoon before the movie. But now Joe's family had the first color TV in the community,
Mm-hmm.
in the whole community. They had the first color TV, so we would all go up there to his house on Sunday nights and watch Bonanza.
Bonanza.
Yeah.
That's an awkward name.
You've never watched Bonanza? It's still on.
It's still on
Yes, it's a good old movie. It's Cowboys.
Mhm. Yeah, we'd all get in that room. Everybody, to us kids that grew up together, we'd get in that room and watch that color TV. It was just
Yeah, well, that was the big thing.
it was a
color
big thing
TV.
back in the day.
Did y'all ever watch like any of the Popeye cartoons?
Yeah, we watched Popeye.
Mhm.
Popeye, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Spinach.
good.
Yeah.
Spinach makes you stronger.
Spinach makes you strong. Popeye the Sailor Man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. We've learned a lot about our community and hope anyone listening to our podcast has too. Thank you again.
Well, thank
We
you all.
appreciate
Y'all
it.
been so very nice.
We've enjoyed it a great deal.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Times have really changed since we were young.